Right. Welcome back to Recap KC, y'all. I'm Nolan Anchor. As always, this is my cousin, Jonathan Ellis. And, yeah, let's just get into it, man. Let's talk about your Wildcats, bro.
It's a must-needed win for K-State to keep their tournament hopes alive. The easiest game left on the schedule. West Virginia at home. Started out this game really nice offensively. I thought K-State did really well passing the ball around, getting everybody kind of involved, like particularly Day-Day Ames with three triples that game was a pretty nice sight to see there. Kaluma kind of took a dip there from the last game, only got 30% from the field, which is not something that you want to see him doing, especially against weaker competition in the Big 12. However, they shot pretty well overall, 48% from deep, 71% from the free throw line. That's going to be enough to kind of win these games for K-State. Like I said, their rebounding was pretty decent as well. They played really good. Had some good bench production from Gasson and McNair. Kind of almost threw away the game there late in the second half, allowing West Virginia to go on that big run. Big thanks to Battle and Cariza with both, I think it had 18 or 20 points apiece. Only had one turnover apiece as well. Jesse Edwards struggled for them, but Battle and Cariza definitely kept these guys in the game for sure. Perry, 29 from him. Great game for him overall. But the big reason that they almost fumbled this game is turning the ball over. West Virginia took care of the ball really well, and I think K-State still struggled with that. But Perry stepped up big time in this game, going 6 for 11 from three, 7 for 12 from the field. That's something you got to see from him night in and night out as the season comes to an end here.
Yeah. A couple of things you mentioned earlier was the rebounding. I mean, both teams, granted, they had some extra time to get, more scrappy and get more rebounds, but Kansas State, they had 48 rebounds and West Virginia had 41. You mentioned the turnovers. West Virginia was really efficient with the basketball. I thought moving it. They only had 6 turnovers to Kansas State 16. But they pretty much had the same amount of assists, though, even though West Virginia had 10 less turnovers. Kansas State had 18 assists and West Virginia had 17. And you guys had more fast break points to them, over double. West Virginia only had 5 fast break points, and Kansas State had 13. That was a little surprising to me, considering the fact that you guys had 16 turnovers. You would have assumed that West Virginia had more than just 5 fast break points.
Yeah, no, they didn't capitalize very well off that. Like I said, really not a lot of production offensively from West Virginia. They didn't really shoot the greatest from the field. They shot decent from deep. I think they're like 38% or something. Couldn't really get it done at the free throw line. Particularly Jesse Edwards struggled. I think he was like 1 for 9 from the field and then 3 for 10 or something from the free throw line. That's not really going to get it done for West Virginia. They need Battle, Kurza, and Edwards to have a good game. That's kind of their big three. And by having Edwards getting in foul trouble, not playing very well down low, I think that's kind of what cost him this one. Battle, credit him. He's a great scorer. I think he's a scorer that can play at any level in college basketball. He could be an NBA kind of guy as well. Like flat out one-on-one, he might be the best one-on-one scorer in basketball in the Big 12. I mean to say, but I might say he's up there, at least top 3.
The only knock on Battle is that he's just really known for his scoring and shooting. You know what I mean, bro?
Yeah.
I mean, you'd like to see dude be more aggressive on defense and on the boards and stuff, because he's not like a natural ball movement or ball mover either, passer.
Yeah.
That's what he is, though. He's a pure scorer in a bucket. I mean, you might be right, dude. I mean, one-on-one, he might be one of the toughest dudes, and not the toughest dude to guard, at least in the Big 12. That guy go toe-to-toe with anyone.
Oh, yeah, man. You saw him hit some big shots late in that K-State game, too. Like, some shots that you wouldn't think he could hit. Step backs, contested threes, really willed his team back into it. But, again, I got to give credit to Cariza as well, however you say his name. But dude he stepped up big time, too, in that one. He hit some big threes. really played well. Those two guys kept West Virginia in this and led the comeback. Almost pulled off the improbable 25-point comeback win on the road in the Big 12. And they haven't won a road game in the Big 12 this year. So that's got to be a confidence breaker for them now on. But the thing is, West Virginia is a team you might not want to play at the Big 12 tournament, man, knowing that they have talent on that roster. They haven't implemented it the greatest, but I think they could cause for a tough game depending on who they play against in the Big 12.
Oh, well, no doubt. Especially if Battle is doing his thing, they're in any game. Honestly, like if he's playing the way he played against Kansas State, or I mean, hell, I remember when West Virginia beat Kansas earlier this year. It was because of him. I mean, he had like 20 points in the first half. If you can't stop him, I mean, West Virginia, if they weren't in the Big 12 right now, I mean, they would be just fine in any other conference, in my opinion, if they weren't in the Big 12. That's all I'm gonna say.
Well, like you said, but they got a lot of talent on this team. Credit K-State though, not giving up, getting that game to overtime, and shout out Jerome Tang, man. 12-0 in overtime in his couple years at K-State. Also set a Division I all-time record for most overtime wins in a season this year with 7. So pulling that off is something that you got. That's really tough to do. Like, you don't want to play K-State in overtime, man. If K-State gets you to overtime, you might as well just wrap up a loss because they did not lose in overtime, man.
I was not fully aware of that, but I know why they call Tang over Tang now.
Dude, yeah, and like Perry, I was worried about him all year. They call him Big Shot Perry, but coming down the stretch here, man, like in these last few games, like Perry's really stepped it up. And you brought up that stat to me. We were discussing some stuff the other day that he's like top 10 in the nation for most clutch points in under 5 minutes in a game, including overtime, man. So, dude can step up when need be.
And with under 5 minutes in overtime, dudes dropped like I think 73 points in what you would call crunch time or clutch time, whatever.
Yep, so, I'm pretty sure he's like the 7th best. Dude, it's crazy, man. Another big game for him too, dude. 29 points, 6 for 11 from 3. If Perry can do that these last 3 games, I don't think there's a reason that K-State can't be capable of winning these 3 games on their schedule. At least 2 of the 3 of them, I would say. And if they can win all 3 of them, or even 2 or 3 of them, and win a game or 2 in the Big 12 tournament, I think there might be a lock for getting in the NCAA tournament. I don't know your thoughts on that. It's still a little bit iffy. They're like the next 4 out on the bracketology right now, but I think if they win these few games down the line, can make a little bit of noise in the Big 12 tournament, there's no reason that they should be missing the postseason.
No, I agree. If they can run the table the rest of the at least regular season and at least get like 2 wins or something in Big 12 tourney, I think it's unfair. I think to leave them out, especially considering that they're like in the bubble right now.
Yep.
So I think it's only right that you do that. Because, I mean, look at some of the mid teams we've seen over the years go in there. I mean, the one that comes to my mind is the freaking Oklahoma team with Trae Young. It's just like, what the hell, dude? I mean, you just wanted to put them in there just to see what Trae could do. But
Trae Young was like a top player in the conference. He was supposed to be a big time like NBA prospect. So they just wanted to see for the national attention. However, I will say this, man, like I think I don't know if you saw, but like West Virginia's coach said that he believes that the K-State won that game due to a favored call because they're a bubble team. So they think like the Big 12's trying to like get them in the game, get them in the tournament and call them unfairly. I don't know your thoughts on that, but
no, that's just an excuse for that's just all kinds of excuses. I mean, maybe some of that too was the fact that they almost came back from a 25-point deficit, and I think just a lot of tensions are high. Like I said, they're already a crap team to begin with, so I don't know. I'm sure West Virginia thinks they deserve that one just because they did come back, and rightfully so. I understand it, but you gotta finish. You gotta play well all first and second half. West Virginia didn't do anything in that first half. they would have won that game if they would have played slightly better in the first half easily. But anyways, who do you think was the player of the game? I'm assuming Tyler Perry, but any other guys you want to mention?
I mean, obviously, I think Perry's definitely the player of the game. 6 assists, 29 points. Really stepped it up. But there's some other guys I wanted to, touch base with is I think, David Gasson and Will McNair off the bench played fantastic games. Gasson with 8 points, 10 rebounds. Will McNair had 13 points, 7 boards, I believe. That's what you need from K-State, too. If those guys can get going and score the basketball, there's no reason that they can't win a game off the bench. Also, want to give a quick shout out to Day Ames, like I was mentioning. 3 triples for him for the freshman. That's big for him. He hasn't really shot the ball the greatest this year. Hasn't been that scorer they need. So by him getting 3 threes this game, I think that was a big step in the right direction for him in K-State moving forward.
Oh, no doubt, no doubt. One guy we haven't really talked about, I don't think, is Cam Carter. That dude had a hell of a game, in my opinion. 19 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists. He went 9 for 10 from the line, shot 40% from deep. So,
yeah, I mean, like you said, he shot really good from the free throw line, but again, he was a little bit from the field itself, he was still subpar in the field goal percentage category. 4 for 13 isn't great for him. Not bad. His free throws made up for it. He did play pretty well overall, but the reason I couldn't really give him a quick shout out is I still think he's a better player than 4 for 13 from the field, man. And that's kind of where he's been at the last few games. I think he's kind of been stuck around the 4 for 13 area. And I think he's a guy that needs to be getting say 6 for 12 or 7 for 14, those kind of stat lines. Shoot at least 50%.
No, I agree, and I just wanted to give him a shout out because of his scoring. But honestly, yeah, my players of the game got to be either Tyler Perry or Will McNair. I mean, like you said, McNair off the bench, 13.7 rebounds. He also shot 75% from the floor. Obviously, very effective. And I don't know if you mentioned this about Perry, but he shot 58.3% from the floor. And you might have mentioned this, but 6 for 11 from deep. I mean, it's probably the best shooting splits of the year by far by Perry, and easily his best game, in my opinion.
Well, if Perry could do that game in and game out, especially these last 3 games of the year, there's no reason K-State's not going to be in all 3 of these games. Even if they win or lose, there's no reason it's not going to come down to single digits by the end of the game. Even at Allen Fieldhouse, if you can score that lead of the level, there's no way your team's not going to be in the game, especially for K-State, knowing how much they need Perry to score to be in games. Especially, with Kaluma in this particular game shooting 30% from the field. To see some other guys step up and make it count where he couldn't, that's what K-State needs to do, is have some guys step up. Like you said with McNair, one thing I just wanted to say with him is, he's a kind of an inconsistent kind of guy as well. He shoots and he plays really, really well when he does, but he also, when he's not in the right headspace, he's not in the game, and mentally he struggles a lot. He travels, he misses open shots, he commits fouls at the wrong time. So good to see him playing well in this one when K-State really needed a win down the stretch there. Pulled it off, kind of an ugly win, but like I said, a much needed one to keep their tournament hopes alive. So can't complain. A win is a win. Got to give credit to Jerome Tang and K-State for getting it done at home.
Oh, yeah, dude. Oh, yeah. Yeah, like you said, give credit where credit's due. He's called Over Tang for a reason.
Yep.
So, all right. You got anything else you want to add, dog? Are we ready to move on?
No, I think that about sums it up, man. They got last thing I want to say is they do play Cincinnati tomorrow at I believe 6 p.m. So that's going to be another. I think it's the easiest game out of the 3 games you got left. You go at Allen Fieldhouse, play Iowa State at home, but Cincinnati is a game that they could afford to lose, but it's going to be the easiest game on the schedule. They need to win it for sure. If they lose this one, they have to beat KU and Iowa State, which is a lot easier said than done. So I think it's kind of a must-win for them tomorrow in Cincinnati.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah, you guys can't afford to lose to Cincinnati. I mean, you guys can't. I mean, honestly, if you guys lose tomorrow, I don't know how much of a percentage your chance would go down to go into March. But it has to go down some. You know what I mean? Like this, it's inevitable. It has to go down some.
Well,
Even if you
this
do
is
end up. Oh, sorry. Go.
I was just gonna say this is like the best stretch for them, man. It's like 3 quad one chances to get a quad one win in a row. That I think like for a bubble team in particular, that's exactly kind of the schedule you want because some of these bubble teams they don't get 3 quad one games like in a row, to finish the season off. They get like quad two, quad three, some of the smaller conferences like Gonzaga and stuff like that. So by having back to back to back quad one games for a chance to win 3 different ones, finish the game. I think that's going to be an advantage for K-State as a bubble team that they can pull it off. I think they're going to move some slots up significantly in that bubble watch.
Yeah, I think that would do wonders for their confidence alone. Just to, like you said, just get those 3 quad one wins. I mean, I don't know what else are. I don't know what more potential a team would need to get hyped up for March. You know what I mean?
Yep.
You got to. It's kind of like the same for any sport though. You got to streak into the playoffs, the tournament, whatever it may be, and if they can do that and win their next 3 games or next 2 out of their 3, they'll be okay. And especially if they beat Iowa State and KU. I mean, like you said, the Cincinnati game, they could kind of afford to lose it, I guess, but
it'd be a lot harder for them if they did.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, honestly, you probably obviously just want to win the rest of your games just to be safe. I mean, like I said, that should guarantee you a spot.
Definitely, but we can move on to that KU game now, man.
Okay. Yeah, there really isn't a whole lot to say, at least from a KU fan perspective. There ain't a whole lot to say about this game. BYU ended Kansas's 19 game winning streak at home, beating them 76 to 68. I cannot speak. And I think both teams shot decent from the floor. KU shot an even 39%. BYU shot 39.3%. But obviously, we couldn't make jack shit from deep. We got outshot badly. We went 3 for 15 from deep, while BYU went 13 for 34, which a lot of that was in the second half. BYU wasn't bad shooting wise from the 3-point line in the first, but yeah, they went off in that second half. But we couldn't make free throws either. KU only shot 61.3%, while BYU went 19 for 24, shooting at 79.2%. So just shy of 80% there. I also thought both teams were pretty scrappy on the boards, at least. We had 40 rebounds. BYU had 37. And we outscored them 16 to 36 in the paint. A lot of that was because of, Dickinson. He had 17. But BYU had 7 more fouls. They had 25 to KU's 18, which is really surprising. I didn't really realize that. For those of you who don't know, I was at the game watching it Tuesday night at the Fieldhouse, and it didn't seem like either team was fouling significantly more than the other, but I guess they were.
No, I agree, man. Obviously another game without Kevin McCullough is going to be tough to win, especially against BYU, who, some people say they're like an average team, but I think they're a solid team, man. They got a lot of talent on that team. Like we've talked about in the past, a lot of length on that team. They can really spread the floor well. Like you said, KU, I think overall like kind of struggled offensively in this one. They had more turnovers than BYU. The free throw percentage is not going to get it done. Dickinson missing 9 free throws at the line. You got Timberlake 1 for 9. All their starters shot less than 50% from the field besides Dickinson, and he shot an even 50. KU is a team that you have to have the starters perform well for them to win. You can't have 4 out of 5 starters shooting below 50% from the field and expect to win, especially at the Fieldhouse, man. I think BYU did what they had to do. Like I said, they protected the ball well. They shot well at the free throw line. Didn't hit all of their threes, but still made some good threes, with Robinson off the bench hitting 4. You had Waterman hitting a couple. Really want to give a shout out to Hall as well.
Yeah.
He shot 3 for 6 from deep, 5 for 8, man. So I think they did everything they needed to do to come in the field house and get a win without Kevin McCullough. Like I said, KU just I think it's not a terrible shooting night, but it's not a good shooting night for their starters, man. Like especially with a team with no bench, you have to be able to shoot better than that, especially on their home floor. Um, like I said, Dickinson played pretty decent, but Harris with 4 turnovers, Dickinson with 9 missed free throws. That's gonna cost you, man, in a game like this.
Well, Dickinson, I don't know if you remember, but there was about 5. There was a stretch there in the second half with about like 5 or 6 minutes left, and dude had missed like back to back to back to back free throws.
Yep.
Like in the last final minutes of the second half, it's like you, and then he would go on stretches, of course, where he would go multiple minutes without scoring. It's just like it's the same shit that we've kind of seen from him. I mean, prior to this game, the last 2 or 3 games have been really good for Dickinson. I'm not going to knock him for that, but it's just like, man, we've seen too many games like this from him in conference play. It's like, it's frustrating as hell to watch as a Kansas fan. I mean, it really is. I can see why Michigan fans, they were saying dude's going to drive you crazy. Yeah, I kind of see it. Yeah,
I mean,
you
I would
can't.
agree, but like,
Oh, sorry, you go.
I was just gonna say I agree, man. But like, it's kind of tough to think what he struggled at the line so immensely and everything, but he was still KU's best player in this game. Like
Oh, yeah.
nobody else really stepped up to the plate when they needed to, man. Especially Timberlake. We talked about him playing a pretty decent game, the last one, hoping that his confidence would get better and he'd be a better scorer looking forward. But it seems like he took another step back in this one, man.
Well, he couldn't shoot. I mean, he somehow finished with 9 points, but Bro shot 1 for 9 from the floor and 1 for 6 from deep. Like, what the fuck is that?
Yeah,
Like,
it's just terrible, bro. You're not gonna get done.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, 9 points, 5 rebounds ain't bad, but yeah, with his shooting splits, it's just a lie, and then that's just the liability there. And don't even talk about our bench. I mean, nobody even wanted to play coming off our bench. It seemed no energy or passion whatsoever from Brown, McDowell, or Marco Jackson. I mean,
The only
McDowell.
guy I want to say like did all right off the bench was like Parker Braun. He played all right. Like he had, he's okay off the bench. He's not really expected to do much, but he's probably the best bench production KU has at the moment. I would personally say, man, like he doesn't do a lot, but he did make a couple shots. He shot 100% from the field. He's a pretty decent player overall, but KU, like I said, is just a team that relies so heavily on their starters, and being without Kevin McCullough, this is just a different team, an easier team to match up with if you're an opponent. Knowing that you only have to really stop Dickinson and Adams, and Furphy, if you can get a guy on there that's going to be able to stop him shooting threes, you're pretty much set, man. Dwan Harris isn't aggressive enough as a scorer to really worry about too much. Like I said, without McCullough, you stop Dickinson, you stop Adams, and you can get somebody to like match up with Furphy. KU is a team that's easily beatable.
Well, the problem is too. Our starters, man, they play so they just get so gassed. I think by the end of some of these games. I mean, look at these minutes for our starters: KJ Adams 34, Dickinson 30, Furphy 31, Dewan 35, Timberlake 33, and then look at our bench now. We have 11 minutes off the bench for Brown, 13 minutes off the bench for McDowell, and 13 minutes off the bench for El Marco. And then look at BYU's bench. They got a guy with 23 minutes off the bench, 23 minutes off the bench, 7 minutes, and then Robinson had 31 minutes off the bench. BYU's guys were rested that entire game, it seemed like every one of their players. It's ridiculous. Like how deep that team is some games. You know what I mean?
Well, I'd say
It's,
yeah, not only that, but like I think KU defended them pretty well this game, man. Overall, like not anybody really performed fantastically. Besides like Hall, like I said, shot pretty well from the field. Waterman, he didn't score too much, but he had pretty decent field goal percentage. But other than that, most of these guys for BYU kind of didn't shoot the greatest. Robinson, like his threes will make up for that, but he still didn't have the greatest shooting game overall. And so I think KU matched up with him nice. I think they defended him nice, but I think their offense was really the downfall to them in this game and missed free throws. Like turning the ball over more and missing free throws like that, especially at home, is not going to get you a win in the Big 12, man. And that's just night in or night out. Doesn't matter. Doesn't really matter who you're playing at that point.
yeah, yeah, you're not wrong. I mean, I think the biggest reasons why we lost this is the second half. We just choked from the free throw line pretty much that entire second half, and then throughout the entire game, we couldn't hit a three to save our life. Obviously, yeah, that's 3 for 15 from three. That's just that blows my mind. And then only six, and then 19 for 31 from free throw. That also blows my mind. It's like whatever.
Well, like I said, man, it's a lot harder to get offensive production without a guy like Kevin McCullough out there, man. He's a guy who can he takes away from the defense. He makes it so you have to focus on him and let some other players get open so they can get that ball movement that they need. KU being a team that when they get the ball moving and they get assists going, they're a team that is really hard to beat. But without McCullough, it's like I said, it's just easier to match up with them, man. You don't have to worry so much about Harris. You don't have to worry so much about Timberlake. He's pretty much a non-factor. You really just have to focus on Dickinson and Adams down low, and then a little bit on Furphy. But overall, like without McCullough, that's gonna be that's the big thing I think in this game. Like without him, it's just gonna be tough for KU to get some of these wins, especially against more talented opponents. I think BYU, like I said, they had some guys. I thought they played really well, like Robinson off the bench, and then Hall. They both had 18. I'd have to give them one of my players of the game. I'd probably say Hall. Personally, though, I just think he shot better and had a bigger impact on the floor. However, Robinson did make some big plays for BYU, but to me personally, I'm gonna say Hall is the player of the game in this one. Tough loss for KU, especially at home. Especially with the end of their schedule here going into postseason play, it's going to be tough for them to win some of these games.
Yeah, I agree with you about probably Hall being player of the game. 18 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, shot 62.5% from the floor, 3 for 6 from deep, and he also went 5 for 6 from the line. Then we mentioned Jackson quite a few times. 18 points, 3 rebounds, shot 40% from the floor, 44.4% from deep, and 2 for 2 at the line. And the only guy that's even worth mentioning, in my opinion, I thought DeJuan Harris did fine. Like he probably had like 3 or 4 turnovers, but at the same time, he had 12 points, 6 assists, and shot 44.4% from the floor. I thought I wish he would have shot the ball a hell of a lot more. I say that every week about DeJuan, though. I always say dude needs to score more. I mean, he'll get you 7 or 8 or 9 assists any given game, blindfolded. He could do that in his sleep, but he's not aggressive at all when it comes to scoring, and we needed him to be a little bit more aggressive for sure. He also, like I mentioned earlier, he had 35 minutes by, that's the most on the team, at least for Tuesday night. Oh, can you hear me? John, can you hear me? Oh, okay. Just want to make sure.
Yeah, no, I think Harris definitely got to be more aggressive. Yeah, I can hear you now. You're kind of like, yeah.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, you good. I was just gonna say, I think Harris, man, like you said, needs to be more aggressive overall. he's a guy that can score the basketball for KU, and he's proven he can score the basketball for KU, but he just doesn't do it every now and then. Like sometimes he just gets scared, or he doesn't want to go to the rim, or he just I don't know why. Like I said, I think he's more of a pass first point guard, which is fine. But with McCullough out, he has to be more aggressive, man. He cannot
Yeah.
play that role with McCullough being out. Like it can't be done.
Oh, sorry about that. Yeah. I really thought that he would look to be at least shooting more. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not
Yeah.
saying he has to from dropping like 8 points a game to like 16 or something stupid like that. Just like, man, just get like 10 and 6 a game or something, dude. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know, dude. We're just kind of boned without Kev. And like you said earlier, DeJuan has that ability to score. I mean, look what he did against Kentucky, a few months ago. 23 points, 7 assists. I mean, he can do it when he wants to.
Yeah, man, and coming down to these last few games, KU's got a tough schedule, man. Like the last 3 games, they got to go at Baylor, play K-State at home, and then go at Houston, man. Like without McCullough, if he can't play in any of those games, like it's gonna be tough for them. And you need Harris to play more aggressive and step up. Like arguably, I think KU might have the hardest last 3 games in the Big 12.
Yeah. Yeah,
Like
I've already told you we're probably. Oh, sorry, continue.
Well, I was just saying, man, like Baylor on the road, Houston at the road, on the road, those are going to be games that are going to be really tough to win, man. Especially knowing like how well Baylor came into Allen Fieldhouse and played against a KU team that didn't have McCullough, and they had chances down the line to win that game, couldn't get it done. Now you have to go on the road and play them potentially without McCullough again. And that I don't see KU winning, to be honest with you. Like, I mean, they're capable of doing it, but like, I just don't know if it's going to happen, man.
Yeah. I'm not going to be surprised if we lose our next 2 out of 3, especially without Kev. I mean, even Monday on our video, I was saying that like I wouldn't even be surprised if we lost to BYU without Kev at home. I mean, you just can't lose an All-American and expect to be okay. And dude's not going to come back till Lord knows when. Hopefully, he'll come back for the tourney. He sure as hell ain't coming back for the regular season, and it's probably like an 80-90% chance he don't play in the Big 12 tourney if I had to guess. I mean, all the reports I've heard about him is that dude is just not 100%. I haven't really heard very much good news about him. Yeah, I remember telling you a while ago. I think it was that K-State game where he tweaked his knee, and it never healed right. I think it was that K-State game. If I could be wrong on that, but yeah, he has not played right since then. This entire year, he has not been good, anyways. Or he's been good, but not the same. So even if Kev does come back, who knows what they're going to do still? I mean, there's still a huge question mark.
Well, I mean, yeah, man, like you were saying, like when it comes down to the KU, like they can afford to lose these 3 games and still be fine in the tournament standings, but like it's not going to be good for the overall morale for the team. You mentioned, man, like you're not going to be confident going into the tournament losing 3 or 4 straight games.
Hell no. And if you said a culture of that being acceptable, I mean, not that Bill Self does that. He's never jived that way. But I'm just saying it's gonna piss off a lot of guys, especially younger guys. I still have a feeling that our Marco is going to transfer and Johnny is going to enter the draft. But those are just my theories. But I think we'll see more guys like that leave if worst case scenario happens and we just say fuck it and lose the rest of these games. Then Yeah, all of those nightmares will come to life if that happens.
No, like you said, man, I agree, dude. I think it's gonna be take a lot of maturity, a lot of discipline to get a couple wins here down the stretch. I think KU, like I said, is more than capable of doing it. We've seen them beat some tough opponents without McCullough, but I think the big thing is you have to have Harris be more aggressive. Timberlake can't go 1 for 9 from the field, and Dickinson and KU's got to hit the free throws. That's just going to have to be something that's got to be happening.
Well, yeah, like DeWine and Dickinson, they have to do their jobs. I mean, we haven't seen consistency at all with, like you just said, no consistency at all with Timberlake. Furphy, he's a freshman. You know, you can't. He's not to mention he's not even like one of the leading scorers on the team, so it's not like you can really put a lot of blame on him. You know what I mean? Given his situation, and
Yeah,
it's gonna have to be on DeWine and Hunter. I mean, those guys are the leaders of the team right now.
yeah.
Um, I don't really have anything else I want to add. That it was gut wrenching, especially because I think a lot of people, including myself, thought that we had it at half. I can't remember how much we were up by it. It was like 5 or 6 points. We started to get some momentum our way. And I'm like, okay, we're at home up 5 or 6 at half. I know, we'll be okay. Yeah, obviously that wasn't the case. And another thing I want to mention is the atmosphere at the field house. It was kind of weird. Like, do you remember me? I think I either texted you or Snapchatted you. I was like, this game feels a little light in attendance. I don't know if you remember me Snapchatting you that, but the crowd, besides the student section, it seemed like a lot of people were sort of thinking the same way you and I were. It seemed like there was a lot of doubt, I guess is what I'm trying to say, in the atmosphere. It didn't seem like it was as electric. It didn't seem like as many people were in it. It was a very weird game, dude. And I've never really say that about the crowd at the Fieldhouse ever. But it just seemed like a lot of doubt looming in the air in that building Tuesday night, and it was the weirdest feeling I've ever experienced there.
Well, I think like last thing I'll mention about it is I think like KU fans have just been like a little bit disappointed with how the season has gone. I think they were favored to win like a national title at the preseason beginning of the season, and
Big
KU's
12
kind of
favorite.
prove themselves that they're really not that type of team, man. This year, they're a team that can win some games and do this and that, but there's definitely way better teams in college basketball than KU as a whole right now. And I think that might play a factor in to the crowd at the field house and the energy and everything, like you mentioned, because KU's so accustomed to winning and winning the Big 12 and being a top seed in the tournament and doing this and that. And this year, it's been rocky. It's been a rocky road, man. They've had to overcome some obstacles and stuff like that. I think just like KU fans aren't used to seeing, man.
No, no, we're not. I mean, the closest maybe that we've experienced this is that COVID year, which I don't fucking count that. I mean, we know that our players feed off the crowd. There's just no doubt about it at home. Our crowd energizes those guys. And so when nobody's there, you're not gonna have any energy within the players. So I don't really reminisce or look back too much at the COVID years, obviously. But yeah, this crowd and the atmosphere just didn't seem normal, and understandably so. Like you said, Kansas fans are not used to having their backs on the wall like this. You know, my we'll never see us winning 13 or 14 straight Big 12 titles again. I mean, we said it last week or on Monday, whatever day that came out. But yeah, we'll probably never see those kinds of days again. So whenever we do win the Big 12 or win a national title like we did a couple years ago, I think we need to stop taking that for granted as much, considering conference realignment, the transfer portal. Like, it's just going to get harder and more tough, man. So while this is still a good year for Kansas, it's definitely underwhelming, no doubt. I mean, like you said, we probably were Natty favorites. The beginning of we were certainly Big 12 favorites at the beginning of the year. I know that for a fact.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't have anything else I want to add. You want to talk a little bit about Chiefs free agency before we wrapped up this video?
Yeah, that works out, man.
So I got some things and some questions for you, but so apparently, NFL has raised the salary cap up to $255.4 million a year. That's an increase of $30.6 million from last year. And after all this has occurred, I believe the Chiefs became 20th in the current cap space amongst all teams. But with the removal of NVS, that freed up $12 million in cap space. And, Snead being tagged, of course. He was also granted permission to seek a trade from the Chiefs.
Yeah.
But with all of this being said, there is growing optimism, according to The Athletic and NBC Sports, that there's growing optimism that the Chiefs and Chris Jones can strike a deal soon. Veach has also stated himself that keeping Jones is at the top of the list for this offseason. And again, that was also reported via The Athletic. The projected contract for Chris Jones is $120 million for 4 years. So, I got some questions. Should we just trade Snead, or should we just give him the franchise tag for $19.8 million?
I mean, that's kind of a tough decision, man. The Chiefs are pretty good at drafting members of the secondary, so I wouldn't be too upset if we lost Snead. However, I do think me personally, I would like to retain him and try to keep him around for at least another year. I think that would be big time. At the beginning of free agency, a lot of people thought we were going to rather lose Chris Jones or L'Jarius Snead. And having the opportunity to get both of them back would be huge for Kansas City, man. But like I said, if I had to pick, I think I would understand if Snead got traded or something like that, because like I said, I trust the Chiefs to draft a solid secondary. They drafted Snead just 4 years ago, and you see the kind of player that he's developed into. And there's a lot of good cornerback talent and stuff like that in the draft this year. So I'd understand either way, but personally, I'd like to just keep Snead on the roster overall.
Yeah, though I agree. I mean, $19.8 million for the franchise tag. I mean, that is a little stupid, but that's what he's worth, though. I mean, dude, it's like an all-pro, Pro Bowler caliber cornerback. And I'll tell you what, I don't think it. Maybe I'm wrong on this just because of the fact that we do have Mahomes and that you can't count us out. But it's going to be way harder, obviously, to three-peat without Jones and Snead on the defensive side of the ball. You need both of those guys if you want to three-peat, if I'm being honest. I don't see it happening without both of them. Yeah.
I agree.
So, what do you think is a fair contract for Chris Jones, considering last offseason, Nick Bosa, he got a 5-year, $170 million contract. And then the Jets' star defensive tackle, Quinnen Williams, last year got a 4-year, $96 million contract. So, you think $120 million for 4 or 5 years, whatever, I guess just basically $30 million a year, do you think that's fair?
I mean, I think at this point, if we don't pay him that, I think somebody else will. I think Chris Jones, he's made it certain that he's a great force on that defensive end, for the Chiefs. So I'd pay him $30 million personally, because I think he's worth it. It's a little steep to some. However, he's a huge part on the defensive side for Kansas City. And to get, like you said, to get a three-peat, I think we're going to need him back. He even if he doesn't get sacks or he doesn't do this or that, he brings pressure to that quarterback and brings a lot of trouble for the opposing quarterback to try to make a play when he's out on the field. So I would say he's worth the $30 million a year. I think that's a fair contract if they can get it done. But again, I wouldn't be surprised if another team in the NFL tries to match that or gives him a little bit more.
I've heard a team to be looking for right now is for Chris Jones at least. If they can't get a deal worked out, is Chicago. If I'm not mistaken, they got easily one of the best cap situations in all of football. Um, he could he'll make well over 120 million if he goes there. I think just because desperate teams like that are willing to overpay for older players that have proven to be winners. You know what I mean? Just for a cultural change or whatever it may be. But yeah, I heard Chicago is a team that could look
Yep.
for him. But um, yeah, that's the only team off the top of my head that I can remember. But I don't blame Jones if he does want to go. Let's just say to Chicago or whatever,
I
and
I think it's
like 30. Oh, sorry, you go. Oh, okay. Well, I was just gonna say.
no, you're good, man. I was just gonna say, like, I think I saw the Lions were talking about trying to see if they could make an offer on him as well.
Oh, okay.
But I don't know how accurate that is. I don't know if it's like a valid source necessarily, but I did see a couple things talking about that they were trying to see if they could talk with Chris Jones to see if they could get him in Detroit. But I don't know, like I
Yeah.
said, if that's going to be something that's going to be a viable option for him or something that's going to hold up. But I just seen, so I thought it'd be worth
That
mentioning that I saw that.
that would be a great fit for Chris Jones because um, Detroit already got a mid defense. I mean, they need a good defensive player, anyways. The top three offense in football, top at least the top five offense in football. You know,
Wait, what?
they would if they were to land Chris Jones in free
Fuck.
agency. Um, did I cut out?
Nah, my Wi-Fi like turned off, but I'm back.
I'm sorry. Yeah, Detroit. All I was gonna say is they should be favorites to win the NFC North if they can land Chris Jones. That's all I
Yeah,
was gonna say.
no, I agree, man. But yeah, Kansas City, if they can get both of those dudes, it'd be huge to get them back. But if not, um, I could see them trying to draft like I said, a secondary position or a new somebody take over Chris Jones in the draft. I've seen a lot of talk about them trying to get a receiver as well in the first round, but we'll see how that goes. It kind of just depends on if we can get both those guys back. If we get both those guys back, I think they're going to take the receiver. If not, I think they're going to take a secondary or a defensive position.
Yeah, I would agree with you. If we could retain L'Jarius Sneed and Jones, that would be an interesting first round pick because I don't think, like you said, I mean, we could use a wide receiver with that, with our first round pick, but man, I think we should just stack up on defense and offensive linemen, bro. I mean, look what New England did for 20 years with Tom Brady. I mean, they didn't give a shit about drafting wide receivers in the first round,
I mean, I
no
agree,
matter
man. I
how
think
good.
I've been saying, like, I think I'd want to take, like, somebody like an O lineman or something like that. I don't think they're going to take an O line kind of guy in the first round either, but, like,
No,
personally, I'd like to see, like, in the first 2 or 3 rounds that we get a nice offensive lineman. I wouldn't mind, like, a defensive pickup in the first round. And then I do want to see some type of receiver. It doesn't have to be in the first round. It could be a little bit down the line, but I think if we get, like, a solid guy, that'd be huge for the Chiefs moving forward, at least.
yeah, no, I agree. And speaking of wideouts, do you think we should just say fuck it and go all in for Mike Evans for the three-peat? I mean, it would put us in cap space hell, but I mean that would drastically help our chances of three-peating. But like I said, that would put us in cap space hell, and the chances of us winning more Super Bowls after that would definitely go down as well.
See, personally, I think it's a little bit under the radar kind of pick. Some people might, give me a little bit of shit for it or whatever it may be. But I think we should just avoid going for Mike Evans and just go for somebody like Calvin Ridley or something like that. Somebody like a little bit like more under the radar, a little bit cheaper, who can still make some plays and will save us cap space. I think if we get somebody like that, man, it's gonna be something that will benefit us more than getting Mike Evans and spending way too much money on him, in my opinion.
No, I agree. I agree. I don't think we need Mike Evans either, but I do think our chances of three-peating go up drastically if we do. But yeah, I think we should go for a guy more along the lines of Calvin Ridley or Darnell Mooney for Chicago.
Yeah, he's a good guy too, bro. Pick up.
That would be a great pickup if we were interested in him. So yeah, I think we should go for guys of that stature as well because Mike Evans on the open market, I believe I read earlier, is well over 20 million a year, probably around 23, 25 million a year. Yep. I think he's going to stay with Tampa anyways. I think if you're Tampa, you have to stay loyal to Mike Evans. That dude's arguably their best player in franchise history. Not only wideout, but literally best player. So if they want to go all in and pay Mike Evans, give him a fat contract to end out his career in Tampa, I don't fault him for it. Dude helped them win a Super Bowl. Like I said, best player probably in Bucs history. One of them.
Well, like you said, man, Bucs are pretty solid anyway, man. So they get him back. Like, it'd be a smart idea on them. They're already a playoff team, almost made a nice run in the NFC. So I don't see why they couldn't get back to the playoffs again next year and make another run. So, and Mike Evans, they're going to need him if they're going to want to have any chance of doing that. So I agree. I think they're going to match whatever type of offer any other team's going to give anyway, and they're going to try to keep him in Tampa. It's going to come back to like if Mike Evans wants to stay in Tampa,
I think he does because I think Baker Mayfield and Mike Evans, I do believe they established a real rapport there. I mean, Mike Evans, I don't know what he did off the top of my head statistically, but he did great. You know what I mean? Those two have established rapport with each other. So I don't think Mike Evans is disgruntled in any way, but no. I was just wondering what your thoughts were on potentially getting Mike Evans because I've heard rumors of us trying to go get that man. And
I mean,
even
wouldn't be mad, wouldn't be happy.
Yeah, definitely. And another guy, I think I told you this a couple of days ago, is Justin Jefferson.
Yeah.
Like I don't think we definitely don't need him. I don't, of course he helps. I'm not gonna say he doesn't help, but you just have to give up too much for him. A trade package that I've heard floating around is Justin Reed, Sky Moore, 2 firsts and a second. I think that's just too much capital to give up for him.
Well, like think about like the type of talent you could draft with those draft picks too, man. Like you could draft a receiver that's more than capable of turning into a player like Justin Jefferson in the first or second round if that's what you want to do.
Yeah, Mahomes doesn't need to be surrounded by all-pro wideouts either.
Well, plus like Sky Moore is like still a guy that's developing, man. Like he can be a guy that can make some plays and become like a speedy kind of receiver. So I think it's like it'd be a little bit early to kind of trade him away. I think if he in a couple seasons he'll develop into somebody pretty nice.
Well, I'll tell you one thing about Sky Moore. Since we released MVS, just save up money, for cap space. He's gonna have to prove himself. I mean, this is their make or break year for Sky Moore. I think if he doesn't improve or show improvements, he's gone. Like I'm not saying
I agree with that too.
He doesn't have to be like 1,000-yard guy or 10 touchdown guy, but can you get 600 or 700 yards? Can you get like 4 or 5 touchdowns? You know what I mean? You don't
he's got to be at least 500, man. At least a 500-yard guy.
Yeah, I don't know what he's done. He definitely hasn't surpassed 500 yards in a season. I know that, but
he's got to do that.
No. So yeah, he's going to get a lot more playing opportunity for sure with MVS being gone, and I wonder what we're going to do with Tony though. I mean, dude seemed pretty pissed off Super Bowl week about us. About him being
getting cut. Bro's getting cut. There's no way.
I don't know how. It's like, how are you going to cut MVS though before Tony? I think that's kind of funny.
Like, unless I see something crazy in that man, but like Tony, I think he made he made too many mistakes, and then his social media banter and everything. Like, you got to get rid of the guy.
Bro, dude is so toxic on social media. He just be bad mouthing fans in every organization that he plays with.
I mean, he acts like he's a wide receiver one, but then like can't make a catch, bro. He can't make a simple catch.
Bro, thank you. Dude acts like he's that. He acts like he's that dude, and that he gets disrespected. But it's like,
But he
dog,
can't even make a catch, dude.
you get disrespected because you can't catch the ball, and you think that you're better than you are. You know, if
And
you're a
that's your
little
whole
bit more
job.
humble, yeah. I think if he was a tiny bit more humble, I don't think he would get as much shit as he gets, especially not from Kansas City fans. I mean, yeah, we lay no brakes on that guy. Trust me.
No, I agree, bro. But yeah, no, I would say that's pretty much how the off season is kind of looking for the Chiefs at the moment.
Yeah,
Just kind of
nope.
waiting to see if they can retain both those players and see what they're gonna do next.
Yeah, it's still pretty early in free agency. You know, draft's a little over a month away, so we're still early in this thing. Yeah, I don't have anything else I want to ask you or add on to.
No,
Um,
I think this pretty much sums it up.
yeah, and you know, not Chiefs, Royals start up in a month or so. I don't
Yeah,
feel the need
same.
to keep up with spring training. I don't feel like it's worth anybody's time personally, but
Yeah, no, spring training is just not really an accurate depiction of how the season's gonna go.
no, most people that do good in spring training don't even go to the playoffs statistically. So,
Well, it's kind of like NFL too, man. Like you see people like teams go like 4-0 in the preseason and lose every game in the regular season,
yeah,
so it doesn't really
yeah.
matter.
Unless you're Baltimore, dog. Baltimore, for some reason, is always successful in the regular season and preseason. I don't know how.
They just got like I guess a good like they got good um like second string and third string guys that I guess they just got like a better bench than most of the league does apparently.
I guess so. I don't keep up with Baltimore Ravens like
I don't
that,
either.
but
Oh well.
but all right. I think that about wraps up everything. Unless you got anything you want to add, John, about Chiefs, Royals, KU, K State, whatever.
I mean, not really. The last thing I just wanted to ask you about was a little bit of backtracking, but what are your thoughts about Texas being higher than K State right now as like a tournament favorite?
Well, how much higher?
I think
Like
they're
what's
right now. I think they're the last four in, or they're like the first four out, like one of the two categories. Like they're like pretty much right there as like getting in the tournament. And they're not a lock, but they're like pretty much on the safe side of the bubble at the moment. I don't know if I really agree with that statement.
That's such a tough question, dude. Both teams they're neck and neck, quite honestly. I mean, 7-8 in conference play, 5 games behind in conference play. Texas is 18-10. Kansas State 17-11. Shit. I mean, hasn't Texas had more ranked wins or against wins against ranked opponents?
Yeah, I think that's why they have them like pushed ahead. But I just don't. I don't know if I mean, I get why they're on the bubble and everything, but at this point, I just don't think I would put them in the tournament. You know what I'm saying? Like if the season ended
Uh,
today, like I don't think I'd put them in there, man.
yeah. No, I agree. I mean, Texas Tech, TCU, Oklahoma are obviously way better than Texas. Like it's not even
Yep.
close. So I agree with
Yep.
you, but um,
Yeah, I just wanted to throw that out there, man. But not like we really need to talk about it too much. But
no, no, that's a good, intriguing question though, and yeah, we're kind of getting wrapped up though with the Big 12 standing, so we pretty much have an idea of how that's going to play out now officially. So
yeah,
we'll keep talking about that, as the season goes on, going into March and whatnot. We'll continue talking about Chiefs free agency, and then obviously in April we'll talk more about the draft. But that's it, y'all. That wraps up this episode. Catch y'all next time. Peace out, John.
yes, sir.